Dave Spooner from the Whittlin Wood Carvers, and on this episode of Whittling Time, we're going to take a garden bench and turn it into a garden chair with some carving enhancements. Okay. Now, to start this project up, we take that old garden bench, disassemble it, clean up the sides, the iron sides, and paint them. Then it's ready to start with the project. So the first phase of the project is we're going to take the sides, and I use these clamps to hold them upright, especially because when you're working by yourself, you need all the help you can get. So these come out really good. So the next thing you do is I cut 5 slats, because the seat consists of 5 slats. So I do it at 23 inches long, 2.5 inches wide, and in this case I kind of rounded the edges. Now you don't have to, because usually the garden chairs and that are pretty crude. And of course eventually you're going to want to put a finish on a garden, whether it be varnish, linseed oil, whatever you take it. In this case we're using cedar. So I've already drilled them for 1/4 inch holes, and we're going to use stainless steel screws, mainly because they're more weather resistant. They don't rust like your traditional screws are. So we're gonna kind of line them up, and that's the first one. We'll do our second one. Screws. And then the third one. The fourth. And the fifth. And that's it for the base for your 5 sleeves. So when you get ready to totally assemble it, then you're going to tighten all the nuts and everything and square it all up. So now we go to the next phase. Okay, now the back, the dimensions in the back we're going to make is 23 inches wide, 14 inches high, from one point to this low point. Now the pieces I'm going to use is, this piece is 2.5 inches by 14. We've got 2 of those. We've got 1.5 inches by 18, and this is 6 inches by 3/4, 18 inches long. These center slats, they're 1.5 inches wide and 10.5 inches long. So what we do before we start our carving, we want to join all these pieces together. And you'll notice here that I've got them numbered or lettered, whichever way you want to do it. I choose to use letters. So it's a matter of just popping these things together. And in this case, I use what's called dominoes, and they're a pretty good means of joining. And I could have used biscuits, doweling, Craig screws, but I thought for this project this was about the best bet. But if you're doing it, you can do anything you want. So We'll just dry fit it first before you do your carving. He wants to be a stinker here. And there you go. And then the next stage is we'll disassemble this before we glue it up, and then we'll do the carving on the top piece. And that's it. Is you see a lot of these garden benches with the iron sides that are just laying there. The wood decays, and it costs more for the wood to be able to do that, to replace them, than it does a whole garden bench. So I figured if we shorten it up, you can use regular pine, cedar, or whatever you decide, because to replace all those rungs on a regular bench, you'd have to use a hardwood, so it can get pretty expensive. So what I did was, of course, you disassemble the garden bench. So I got to two sides, and it'd be something like this with the two irons on it. I first started with cedar, and I cut 5 slats, 23 inches long. That's how I decided the width of the chair. And then I laid out my back. Well, first of all, I'll just kind of screw the slats to the irons, so I've got that up. And usually, to be able to work on that, I'll take some old wooden clamps on the sides of those ends, so I can keep them upright while I work on it. Because otherwise you need another pair of hands and all that. And I usually work alone a lot, so you need all the help you can get. So then it's a matter of, once you get that, is lay out your bench. And I start by just a plain piece of wood. And I come up about 2 inches. I get my center. I come up about 2 inches here. I've got my center line on my pattern. I come up 2 inches from the bottom. And when I line that up, I'll glue the pattern down. And I usually use a spray adhesive and all that. So once that's down, I'll cut it out. And when I cut it out, I come up with this. And again, with this, I use cedar. But cedar is a real stinker to carve. And the reason why it's hard to carve, or problematic, I should say, is you've got these light and dark grain. And it's just, when you start carving it, you'll understand. So what I did is, with these areas where I got these highlighted, it's where I'm going to take away some of that wood in the yellow highlight. The black on this pattern is a lot deeper. And of course, rain on the outside of the pattern, in all these lines, I do what's called a stop cut. So you create a stop cut, and then you carve right down to it, So when we kind of go into the carving, Of course, after I cut it out, what I do is I set up the back of the seat with this, and these are about this whole thing is 23 inches wide, just like the chair. These are like one bys, like 1.5 wide, about 10 inches long. This is about 18 inches long. These are about 14 inches long. And I put this together with what they call dominoes. I think all you heard of a biscuit joiner. They've got what's called a domino cutter, and it gives you these short. They call them dominoes. It's almost like a oblong and a dowel, and they seem to be a lot more. The reason why I chose this is it seems like a lot more durable when it comes down to a seat, because with a biscuit or even a Craig joint, or it just doesn't seem to be that stable, So once I get that into this point, I'll start carving away. And usually I might start out with these stop cuts, and I could do a stop cut with. I'll do it in different ways. I'll take a chisel and I'll maybe give it a tonk all the way around. And then you can kind of chisel down it. And with this, around here, and so on. And I just kind of go back and forth from the outside perimeter. A lot of times I like to go through this outside, the outer perimeter of the piece first, and then go back and forth. It makes it seem like you're going a little faster, but a little bit more defined. And when it comes down to the top divots right here, might cheat a little bit. In other words, stop cuts. And because of the paper, I might take, and it's just about the right circumference or belly in there to be able to maybe use a little power too. Dust collector. So that kind of cuts that out quite a bit. Grab another chisel here and then start paring this back. I've got this piece here. I can carve this right back and then cut along the perimeter. So I've got rid of some of this. I kind of excavated some of this around here. And I kind of work back and forth. Now once this is excavated with the power tool, I just kind of take and kind of smooth it out with a chisel down here. Just kind of V this out a little bit with a knife. Okay. A little bit more here. taper this back and the top. And sometimes I like to remark where my paper pattern seems to disappear, or as you carve it away. Kind of redefine your areas. And kind of clean them up a little bit. Get that circle here, a little spiral. And let's see. Clean this up a little bit. Kind of round this off a little bit, taper it down. And let me this off. Kind of give you an idea where we're at. Okay, let's see what we got here. I like these clamps because they can kind of hold your work down. Let's see, maybe for the sake of time, we'll get rid of some of this paper. Okay, well, for the sake of time, and what we'll do is keep going over this over and over until you kind of clean everything up like you got on this other side. And once you kind of get all your carvings the way you want it, then you can assemble the back. And I've got it laid out there where I've got all my pieces numbered, so I get everything back in the right place. So And then once you got this all cleaned up, I glue it up, and you see these parts right here. Right in here, you got a little protrusion here, so it's a matter of carving that down flush to this point. And then if you want to make it a little bit more refined, you can take a round off bit and then a router and then go around all this perimeter, just like the back of this chair. You'll see where I've got it all rounded off and around the top here. And then the final is just to give it a few coats of exterior polyurethane, and you're good to go. I use cedar mainly because it's more rot resistant than the rest of it, and that's typically what they use for outside furniture anyways. But it's not very easy to carve. It can be a stinker. And with that, I thank you very much.